Okay. Looks like we're live, everybody. So, hi, welcome. So I'm Karen LaFrazia. I'm the president and CEO here at St. Francis House, and welcome to, I think this is our second State of the Agency address. And I just want to thank everybody who's tuning in, all of you who care so much about the work of St. Francis House and the guests that we're serving. I'm joined here today with my friend and colleague, Ana Rodriguez. Ana, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Ana Rodriguez. I'm the Associate Director of Housing and Stabilization. I oversee the housing department in both 39 and 48 Boylston Street. And hello and welcome.
Yeah. So, as all of you know, because you're such good friends to St. Francis House, you know that at St. Francis House, we have a breadth of services that we provide, everything from refuge, food, clothing, shelter. But since our very beginning, we've always wanted to address the underlying issues that people struggle with to end their experience with being homeless, whether that is addressing behavioral health issues or employment and income, but housing. I mean, when you think about it, when you're somebody who's experiencing homelessness, the number one thing that you're going to need is a permanent place to live. So we have, since our very beginning, really had a focus on housing. So today we wanted to just share with you some of the past efforts that we've done with housing, some of what we're doing right now, and give you a window into the future on how we're helping the folks that come to St. Francis House find permanent, stable, affordable housing. So what I could tell you is, and again, joined here with Ana, everything that we're doing ultimately reports up to Ana. So we're thrilled that she's recently joined our team and is going to be overseeing this expansion of our housing efforts. But just to bring you back a little bit, when we, probably back in the late around 1997, I guess it was, we opened our first housing, and that's at the day shelter where so many of you have come to visit. So on the top 4 floors of our building at 39 Boylston Street, we actually have 56 units of supported permanent housing. And it's been amazing, quite frankly, to watch people coming from shelter, from the streets, and being able to, with the least amount of hurdles, be able to move them directly into their own permanent place to live. Ana, maybe could you just describe for folks what the physical layout is? It's called Next Step, right? It's the Next Step housing, but maybe you could describe for people what that looks like.
Sure. So floors 7 through 10 consist of 14 SROs on each floor. Each floor is assigned a residential service case manager that provides stabilization case management support to each of the residents. And they have a living common area, kitchen, common kitchen area where they can prep and cook their meals. It's a shared bathroom. They have a library. They have computer stations on 2 of the floors, and they're all welcome to utilize those computers. And a person that they can go to on each of the floors whenever they have a need, or if they have any questions or need support.
And I think our viewers right now are having a chance to take a look at what that common space actually looks like. So as Ana was saying, is this lives atop our building, and every floor has a beautiful kitchen, a dining area, a living space. A few slides ago, I just have to give a shout out. I saw Mayor Menino, I saw Jim Sullivan, I saw a skinny me. So lots of changes over the past, 20 odd years, 25 years. But it's amazing. I think the transformation that we see in somebody when they can walk out of a shelter and have that key in their hand, and the safety, the camaraderie. I think one of the things that I love about our Next Step Housing is the fact that it really builds a sense of community. You know, there's, as Anna was saying, we have staff. Their job is to provide the support for people. So once their housing is stable, then we can really start talking with somebody about, you know, is it getting a job? Is it, you know, maximizing their benefits? Is it volunteering? You know, how do they live more productive lives, right? Or how do they, for the first time, maybe have an opportunity to address their substance abuse? But they also have an opportunity, they make friends, you know, they're really happy, you know, they because, you know, there'll be people that'll share meals together,
Yes.
you know, they cook together. So it really allows for this sense of community and but a lot of support. You know, I think people really struggle actually, you know, coming into housing.
Yeah, definitely. The transition from homelessness to being stably housed is not an easy
No.
one. It's not as simple as it sounds. It does come with its challenges and supports that are needed to make that transition in order to be successful.
Yeah. But successful it is. I mean, one of the things I can tell folks is we've been operating, again, these 56 units. Everybody has their own private bedroom. It's completely furnished. You can see Donna here. She's done her unit really lovely. And people take great pride in being able to decorate a space and put up pictures of family that they've never been able to put up before. So, you know, everybody has sort of their own unique way of personalizing that space. And it's permanent. I mean, I think one of the things, you know, that is so incredibly important is when you're somebody who's experiencing homelessness, you're always in transition. You're always, you know, you never know when the next thing, but you never get to really put down your roots. And
absolutely.
And you know, one of the amazing things that's just blown me away over the years is we have a 98% of the folks stay permanently housed. When you think about the lives people have led and all of the issues that they've struggled with, it's led them to be in a situation of homelessness, and then for them to be able to maintain that housing, and some people for years and years. I mean, you know, people don't have to leave Next Step. This is their home, and they build friendships with each other. They feel supported by the staff, and either they're, you know, folks do move on, right?
Yeah, they move on to larger units where they have no shared living space, their own kitchen, their own bathroom, and they continue to progress over time.
And actually, you know, that was one of the lessons we learned in building Next Step. We realized that as wonderful as it is, and I always sort of hear this from folks, you know, they come in and they're so excited. They'll come down, Karen, I got my key. I'm moving in. I got into the unit. And I said, oh, that's so great. And they're all excited. And then a little while later, you know, it's a little bit like, oh, you know, so-and-so left the dirty dishes in the kitchen, or they, you know, I have to share the remote, right? It reminds me like I'm at home. And people really are ready for the next step of independence. And so what we wanted to do was, you know, build more housing, right? I mean, you know, some of this we need to do is there's just not enough permanent affordable housing. So we had an opportunity to purchase this beautiful building that is actually directly across the street from St. Francis House. And we were able to, together with the Planning Office for Urban Affairs, who just big shout out to Bill Grogan and everybody over there. They're an amazing partner. You know, acquiring, building, and developing permanent supported affordable housing is very complicated. So we're really blessed to be able to have this ongoing partnership with the Planning Office. So they joined us as our development partner, and we were able to acquire this property across the street. And in doing so, we added to our portfolio of housing another 46 units of permanent supported housing. And so what's wonderful about that is, as Anna was saying, is that within that housing, it's not shared living, right? I mean,
No.
maybe you could describe what maybe a typical unit. We have, I think it's 38 studios and 8 one-bedrooms, but
Yeah, so the studio apartments consist of a bedroom space, living room, kitchen, and the one bedrooms, of course, is it's a little bit of an extension that has the private bedroom, it has the living room area, and it has the kitchen. They all have their own bathrooms. Within the building also, they have a community room where they can all get together. They also have computers, they have access to health and wellness.
yeah, we have a laundry in the basement. We have an exercise room in the basement. So it's been wonderful. And again, people can come in and, oh, great. I think we have this is a typical unit, and a big shout out to the folks over at Bob's Furniture, because when we were opening this, we really needed to figure out, well, how are we going to furnish these units? Because it's not like people have furniture. I think that's, getting people set up in a home is, there's a lot of needs there. So we were so grateful to our friends over at Bob's to be able to provide for the homeless units, fully outfit them. And honestly, when people walk in and they're walking into a home, I don't know, some folks have been homeless for 5-10 years.
Anywhere from 1 to 20, 30 years.
So to be able to, again, walk in and have your own beautiful space in downtown Boston, and directly across the street from St. Francis House.
Where they can continue to receive multiple services across the agency.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking when you say that, multiple services, I'm thinking about a fellow who actually lives at the Union, and he's a gentleman who has been struggling with substance use disorder. And, the pandemic really, really was hard for him. He had a therapist, he had been working his program, but that all went away. He couldn't see anybody in person. And he credits our recovery support center directly across the street as a place where it's really enabled him to be able to surround himself with a community of people who are in recovery. So that the relationship between the Union being directly across the street, where you can see the blue box, the Union, and then, our logo represents 39 Boylston Street, St. Francis House. So, in some ways what we're doing is we're building out a bit of a campus here, a downtown campus for people experiencing homelessness, where there's the housing, the residential components, but then all the services as well that are emanating out of 39 Boylston. And because, again, what we're talking about is, the need for finding affordable housing at, anybody on this call knows how challenging it is, and it's particularly challenging for our folks. So we've been taking this dual approach, sort of production and building, and we're going to talk in a few minutes about, searching. So this one hasn't been built yet, but when we were able to purchase the building across the street, it was always envisioned as a 2-phase project. So we've completed phase 1, which was the 46 units. And this spring, actually, we're going to break ground and be able to build a 19-story tower. And we'll have 126 units of housing. 70 of those units are going to be dedicated specifically for people coming out of shelter or coming off the streets. And what's wonderful about this project is it's actually going to be, it's very intentional about wanting to build a sense of community. So in this project, while we'll have, of the 126 units, we'll have 70 of them that'll be dedicated for people experiencing homelessness. The balance of those units will be all affordable, but there'll be 1-bedrooms, there'll be 2-bedrooms. And, people could be making up to, a 2-person household could be making up to $80,000 a year. And so again, this sense of community, right? I mean, I think that what we've really wanted to do is build this beautiful building. Right now, Anna and I are having a lot of fun picking out furniture and what the colors are going to look like. But we'll have on-site services too, right, Anna?
Yes. So we will have case managers, resident life
Coordinators, right?
coordinators, yes, and definitely clinical case management, and also a program housing manager.
Yeah, so we're really building in, the buildings, managed professionally by a property management company, and then St. Francis House under Anna's leadership will be providing on-site case management, housing stabilization services. This is a great picture. Again, we haven't even broken ground on this yet, but when you walk in the front door, there's this beautiful amenity space, that's on the ground level, where it'll have a kitchenette and spaces where people can, watch TV or gather. And I think we'll find out what the residents want.
And I have to say, Karen, the more exciting part of this whole building is also including families,
Yeah,
right? We're used to serving individuals, but being able to include families who can also benefit from the services that we provide is going to be amazing.
It is, and to be located in downtown Boston, right? I think so much of this is really, when you try to think about how do you build a sense of community, you build it by helping people become neighbors and breaking down stereotypes and and helping people build friendships and relationships, access to employment, to go shopping. So all of why anybody would want to live in downtown Boston are folks as well. So they have access to all of the amenities, the transportation, the services that are downtown. St. Francis House is right around the corner. And so we're just really excited. So hope you guys get excited. We look to be breaking ground on this property. I think it's probably this this upcoming May of 22. It's going to be about a 2-year construction project. And so we'll be looking forward to inviting you to both the groundbreaking and then in the spring of 2024 to come to our ribbon cutting and be able to help us welcome in another 126 families, singles, families, and do that. And then just before we go on and talk about the other ways that we're helping people find housing, last year we had 7,000 people come to St. Francis House. 7,000 unique people over the course of the years crossed our threshold looking for some help. So we know the need for housing is tremendous. So while we are absolutely, by the spring of 2024 going to have 228 units of housing, we're also looking at other opportunities that could potentially make themselves available in the near future. So we're looking at some pipeline projects that potentially, I think, by 2024, we might be over 350 units of housing. That is St. Francis House, together with the Planning Office of Urban Affairs, built, and Anna and her team will be providing the services. But we know with that staggering amount of people needing housing, we're not going to be able to build our way out of this. And so we have to do absolutely everything we can to maximize finding housing. And so, Anna, I know you've been leading a tremendous effort in helping people, find housing that already has been built. Can you tell folks what you've been doing and what your team's been doing?
So we have been very fortunate to be part of this Housing the Homeless initiative. We have a contract that's called Rapid Rehousing, and what that contract allows us to do is support folks who are sheltered or unsheltered in the city of Boston, streets and shelters, to be able to find affordable housing that comes with stabilization services. What that means is that we provide housing search, getting people document ready. Document ready is birth certificate, social security cards, being able to obtain their queries, and make sure that the locations in which they're applying for would be successful in order for them to be able to obtain those units. We provide upfront costs, that would be first, last security deposit, but also a monthly financial assistance, which would help support and stabilize them throughout the remainder of the contract year. And so, if it wasn't for that opportunity and those supports and that funding, housing someone who hasn't been housed in a long time, doesn't have documents, has really so many barriers put in front of them, they wouldn't be able to be housed. And this, through this initiative, we're able to have some stabilization case managers who then provide the stabilization work throughout the entire time.
Yeah, and it's, if I think about my own experience, right, trying to find housing, or your experience trying to find housing, I think that, we all know how hard it is to find anything affordable in the greater Boston area. And then you have to layer that on, like you were saying, document ready. To find affordable housing, you have to get your birth certificate, you have to show identification, you have to show your income, and being able to find all of those documents, pull it all together, even going to look at an apartment. I mean, it's daunting for so many of our folks.
It really is. It's anxiety building. I think that also keeps folks from, wanting to become housed, because it takes so much work. And when you don't have supports in place to help you, it's even more, stressful and anxiety building.
Yeah, you think about, I was thinking about my first apartment, right? This was a very long time ago, but I needed $500 for my first and last month's security, right? And I had to borrow the $500, and then I had to figure out, furniture. I had to figure out, I had to go, get dishes and silverware, right? I mean, just to set up a household. And I had, I had family, I had friends, I had people that just sort of rallied around me. I know our guests don't have that. And I know that you and your team are that for our guests.
As part of the financial assistance for them to be able to move in, we also provide household kits, which consist of, dishes, pans, brooms, dustpan, a variety of household items that they need to be able to get started.
Yeah, sheets, towels, pillowcases. I mean, people are starting from nothing. And so they need some place to be there. That's like the physical side of things. One of the things that, as I've talked to people, and I sort of reflect on my own experience. I remember that first night that that apartment that I had. It was a studio. It was a little studio apartment. I actually shared a bathroom with another apartment. It's not unlike some of what we're doing at Next Step. But I remember getting into that apartment, and then everybody left. They all went home, and I shut the door, and as great as it felt, oh my God, I started to feel alone. And the first thing I did was I called my mother. But, what about our guests? Can you talk about some of the emotional transformation that goes on for people?
Well, Karen, just imagine, right? That's you had a mother, you had a support system, you had folks, who you can call and they would come and support you. That's not true for the population that we serve. Most of them have burned bridges. Most of them don't have parents or family members that they remain connected to. So we become those folks for them. Our stabilization workers do home visits. They do phone check-ins to make sure that people are adjusting. We create a transition plan to help them to adjust, because you take someone from homelessness where they created a community of family members. Now this is their family, and you're pulling them out of that environment to put them in an empty room, even with furniture. It's it's very stressful, and they can become depressed and sort of decline instead of improving. So we make sure that we provide that level of support so that that doesn't happen, and that we put community resources in their life, and also community supports.
Actually, the thing you just said, you would, sometimes people, when they pull it, folks can pull it together. They've got a lot of support. They find that apartment that they haven't had. We pay the back utility bill if they, get the electricity turned on, and, get the furniture and all those things. But I think that you don't want to underestimate the loneliness and the sense of depression. And there, initially, sometimes we do see a little, a few steps back before we see a bunch of steps forward. Because I think people, it's almost like you've taken every last bit of energy to find that place, to get into that place. And, I do see sometimes people falling back, but we also then see, because of the work that your team is doing, people just sort of then being able to pick back up. And I think the other thing that I think you all know, and that we live every day is, St. Francis House doesn't operate in silos. It's not like we just have a housing department. We're leveraging, Anna and her team are leveraging our workforce department, for example, right? So, once people are placed in housing, what are some of the ways that you take advantage, or your team takes advantage of the other services that are at St. Francis House?
So they get referred to workforce development, where they can become part of a MAP program. And the MAP program provides a training for 14 weeks, provides a stipend while they're participating in the program. They also offer income maximization, where if someone doesn't have enough income or no income to be able to sustain their housing long term, that the folks will work with them to find out where they're eligible and help them to apply for benefits, or go back to employment, start working again. We've been very successful. I'm happy to say we have almost a quarter of the folks that have been housed are now full-time employed.
Yeah.
There's also behavioral health.
Right.
We have harm reduction. We have clinical case managers. And so, we definitely encourage and make referrals to the different departments that St. Francis House has, and utilize, all the services. Truly a one-stop shop.
It is. And, and bringing people, again, there's a lot of effort. While you were saying that, I was thinking about, in the news a lot, we've been hearing about a part of Boston, neighborhood of Boston, Mass and Cass is what it's, and so there are lots of people that are on the street struggling, and we really want to get people into housing. We have teams of people that are going down to that part of Boston, and I remember Angel was telling me, he's the head of our security, about one day he was out there, he and Jason, I think they found somebody, they gave him a Charlie ticket, he came to St. Francis House. Do you know the story? And
I do not know the specifics, but I do know that they did some outreach and put together some transportation to get folks from the area over to St. Francis House so they can utilize the services here.
And this guy met Peggy, who's one of our amazing, housing search and stabilization workers. And within a matter of like a month or two, he went from sleeping outside down at the Mass and Cass intersection to having his own place. And Anna and her team are now supporting him to make sure he can stay in that place, and that his recovery gets stronger and stronger. I'm thinking about somebody I'm going to be talking to later on this afternoon, who I think he got into housing and now painted his unit and is working for his landlord. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Can I say the
Yeah,
name?
yeah, first
Okay.
names.
So Alan came to us and he had been homeless for over 20 years. He heard about rapid rehousing. He reached out, he came, he, completed his enrollment. He went through the process of um, housing search. And I'm happy to say, this gentleman has been housed since September and he's fixed his unit. His landlord was so impressed that he got a full-time job managing all of the landlord's properties. And how exciting is that, right?
Right. It's so we really see these miracles that are
Mhm.
happening. I think oftentimes it can be, people can feel, when you're on the outside looking in, that either your experience, like that's never going to happen for you. Like your life is going to just be defined by being in shelter, defined by being homeless, or oftentimes, those, people can think that as well about folks. But every day we're just so blessed at St. Francis House to be able to either build a housing and just keep building more and more housing and building a campus downtown and being able to create a broader sense of community in the downtown
Mhm.
Boston area. But then by extension, we're identifying, I think, with this program, how many in the next year units of housing will you get people placed into?
100.
100 through Rapid, and then another 40, I think, right?
Yes,
Right.
through rehab.
So
36.
between, so this program that Anna was talking about, it's a partnership with the city, and we will, in addition to the housing that we're building, place another 140 people like Alan into their own permanent places to live. And we see them coming back to St. Francis House. We see them coming to the Recovery Support Center. We see them coming to, enrolling in the Moving Ahead program, making deeper and more meaningful connections with a clinical case manager, but also making connections with their new neighbors in their new communities, and grocery shopping, or going to, the library, or whatever kind of faith, we've seen people reconnect with church. And so it's been wonderful to be able to see folks really transforming their lives in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's kind of, we didn't want to keep you all afternoon. I think we wanted to give you a quick little peek inside some of the efforts that St. Francis House has been doing. So from, on very specifically on our work on housing. So we're building it and we're finding it and we're helping people stay in it, whether it's our housing or, other housing. Oftentimes people ask me, how can I help? What are the ways in which I can help? So, one thing I would absolutely say to folks would be, if you have an apartment, if you're a landlord, if you know a landlord, if you know somebody that might be able to make a unit available, there's incentives.
There are. So Boston Housing Authority is providing a $2,000 incentives for any landlords that participates in our rapid rehousing program.
And that's if in Boston.
In Boston.
Yeah. So if you know somebody, they'll do it out of the goodness of their heart and, get financially rewarded or incentivized as well. So we have some financial incentives to help us identify potential landlords. And then other ways people can help. You were talking earlier about these welcome baskets. Can you speak a little bit more to that?
Yes. So like we mentioned before, mostly all the people that we house don't have the income to support being able to purchase household items. And so we have created some baskets with some household supplies that we can put in the baskets. When they move in, they get these baskets. If you see their face, you'll know the joy that we feel because we see it all the time when someone moves in, and we can definitely use some support in getting some household supplies, some baskets, so that we can continue to provide those upfront
necessities,
yeah,
right? I mean,
basic
it's just like
necessities,
we were saying,
yes.
I've seen sometimes, school groups might get together, the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, or a church group might get together, or any kind of groups that, a business, and they say, we're going to make 40 baskets. So we have a list. So you don't even have to think about it. It's everything from paper towels to a shower curtain to sheets to pillowcases to pots to pans to silverware, whatever people can bring together, so that we can. It's a great community builder for people that want to volunteer some time and build out these baskets. You can also go on Amazon. We have a wish list on Amazon. So sometimes people can just click and it'll get sent right to St. Francis House, and it'll go right into somebody's apartment. So there's all kinds of ways that in addition to all the ways you're already supporting us, if I could be so bold, there's other ways you can continue to help out directly the folks that we're doing. So these, our website, if you just go on stfrancishouse.org housing, it'll tell you everything you would need to know if you're inclined to do your own welcome basket, or get a group of folks together to do a welcome basket. So again, I want to be really respectful of all of your time. We promised you that it would only be 45 minutes, and to anybody who's watching, it's 12:42, and so I've actually beat my record here and ending a little early. I don't know, I know there's other people out there. We said that there'd be an opportunity if anybody had any questions. You may not, but I don't know if anything popped up in the chat, if we need to do that or not. Somebody's handing me something. And so how are we supporting staff as they deal with fatigue and burnout, given the scope of the problem at Mass and Cass? That is a really good question. Thank you, Deirdre. We can't take care of our guests if we're not taking care of our staff.
Absolutely.
And so, there's a couple of things that we do. I mean, honestly, in many ways, Anna has an amazing team. She leads her team. So I know you meet with your team on a regular basis, both individually and as a team. There's a lot of folks that have trauma. Our guests have trauma, and sometimes that trauma, our staff can experience that as well. And so we actually have an entity that provides trauma support for our staff. For any of our staff that may be feeling secondary trauma, or their own trauma backgrounds might be triggered. So we have an opportunity to make that service available to our folks. And I think
and I'd like to say, as St. Francis House has an integrated model. What that does is it allows for people from the various departments to take part in what we do, and vice versa, right? So we all support each other, to support the client and to make sure that staff are doing and feeling well. As supervisors also, we're trained to identify when someone is, going towards burnout, and making sure that we do an intervention, that we talk to them, and that we make sure that they're doing self-care, and those types of things that we do pretty much on a regular basis, every day, checking in with folks, and when they do need time to take care of themselves, that we make that available to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we've strived, we set ourselves a goal a while ago to be an enviable employer. I think is what we said. So, we really encourage people to take and use all of their vacation time. Departments don't work in isolation. It's very much a team effort. People, and as Anna was saying, we've developed a trauma-informed supervision model, so that hoping that people can meet with their supervisors, and there's a way in which people can share at the front end how they need to be supported. We have to lean in and ask our staff, and so I think that from having formal relationships with the trauma center, to doing trauma-informed supervision, to having a team-based approach, I think those are the ways that we're, to the best of our ability, taking care of our staff. And Yeah, feedback
And
seems to be
ourselves.
okay. And ourselves, right? We have another question, and Linda was asking if we can share the housing basket essentials ahead of the holiday season. Absolutely. One of the things that, I tell you is that when we first envisioned doing this rapidly, quickly, as fast as we could get people into housing, we had initially thought about only serving about, I think 57 people. I think that's what we had done. And, I don't want to say this, but her team was so crackerjack at this that they blew that out of the water in the first 4 months. So we went back to the city. And so they said, absolutely. And they doubled the number of people that we can serve. So we will be getting people in right now. As we speak, people are getting placed into housing in the holidays. And, we have places to store these baskets. So if you want to do a holiday effort, we'll keep them in storage till the next person gets a place to live and we can give it to them.
That would be great and greatly appreciated.
All right. Oh, not a question, but Shannon says hi. Okay. Well, on that, Shannon, and to everybody, I'm trying to look through again, I'm going to quickly look through, but I think that that's the end of our presentation. That's the end of what we have to say. Other than a huge thank you for all the ways that you've supported St. Francis House. You support the staff. You make it possible for our staff to do their job, for them to be able to make it possible to help our guests. And we couldn't be more grateful to everything that you all do. We look forward to having some of these, chats going forward in the future. I think we'll be looking at one that'll focus on our workforce programming. We'll be looking at one that focuses on our recovery program. So all kinds of opportunities to get to know amazing people like Anna and her team of folks. So I guess thank you. And